Hello and welcome. Today we've got Karla Degginger. Just before we begin, I would like for everyone to subscribe to our Telegram channel and to nicholasveniamin.com. Now, today me and Karla are going to discuss the hiring process and how she thinks that it would be, restored. Should I say? Should I use the word restore, Karla?
Restored or changed.
Restored or changed, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Now if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below for the full interview. Okay, now Karla, how are you and where do we begin?
Well, I'm doing great and I appreciate the opportunity. I guess maybe just a little bit of my background. I spent the last 20 plus years in the staffing and recruiting industry and trying to match talent with positions and enjoyed it, loved the relationships we built, but was extremely frustrated with the entire process of trying to, help companies find people, but yet we had to do resumes and all the things I call the obstacles in the hiring process. We were constantly trying to break through obstacles, resumes and job ads and interviews and timeframes and everything that went with it. So I finally, in 2018, I just kind of scrapped everything and said, if I were to create a hiring process, what would I do? And I just took a blank piece of paper. I followed Michael Gerber. I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Gerber and the E-Myth, but he talks about in Beyond the E-Myth, taking a blank piece of paper and dream with a beginner's mind. And so that's really what I did. And I created what I thought made more sense in the hiring process. And so I flipped it and we focused on the individual first and helping individuals determine their core values related to work and how they could truly find and build a strategy for fulfilling work based on their core values, instead of going out and searching job boards, finding jobs that sounded good, and then trying to create a resume that would get their foot in the door to get them in front of a live person and just go through that whole mess that we call the hiring process. So, and then on the other side, we want to qualify companies that had that same passion, that they really wanted to hire to their core values and make sure that individuals fit that and develop the right culture and just everything that would go to complete their passion or their mission as a company. So ultimately, the plan is to develop a software and an app that make that connection instantly. And we started off actually in 2019. I formed a company called the Talent Loop, and we put together the plans to launch at the end of 2019. I had an emergency appendectomy in the midst of all of that, and so it delayed our launch by a few weeks. And so we went into 2020, and I thought, what a great time to launch a new company. We'll launch it at the end of first quarter 2020, which was March of last year. Needless to say, things changed dramatically in the hiring space. We had geared a strategy on 3% unemployment. At that time, finding the right talent was one of the main concerns for most companies. We work a lot in the engineering and science space and manufacturing and things like that. So we had everything geared for that market. When the stay-at-home orders and the shutdowns began, I really didn't know what to do, as many people. And I'm like, how I can't launch this company with the message that we had at that time. And so we started kind of trying to refigure the message. Our first goal, our first plan is to develop what we call our talent community, and that's where we bring in the individuals to help them go through this process of developing their work strategy. I always say we want to put you in control of your hiring process instead of being controlled by the process. And so started trying to make more of a virtual approach. And in June, we launched the website. It's called thetalentloop.com. And just with trying to build the talent community and starting to get the information out there. But it just, I got some great feedback, but there was just too many unknowns. People weren't ready to say, oh yeah, I'm ready to start planning my career strategy when we don't know what the world is doing. And so that sent me on learning obviously everyone started doing a lot of Zooms. And so I thought we've got to make this 100% virtual, with the plan to get back to face-to-face, because a huge part of everything we do is all about relationships and getting to know people. The people aren't a piece of paper, known as a resume. You know, we want to know them. So I've been in the process of developing an online course. It's called Your Dream Job Strategy, and it's 3 modules. It's geared to be 3 weeks, a 3-week course. We may shorten that, and we take the individuals through the process of developing their dream job strategy, and then we're searching for companies that are looking to hire. So prior to 2020, I was not aware of a lot of things that are coming in the world. And as I started learning about the transition that we're going through and the awakening time that we're going through, and learned about all of the soon-to-be new companies and new technologies, I got very excited, because I'm like, there's the companies I want to get to know. And I think those are the companies that are going to be a great fit for the hiring philosophy of hiring to core values and helping take people through that process. So that's where I learned about you. I have got into a lot more new communities, listening to, just learning, re-educating myself as well. And the more I would learn about what's coming and just the overall awakening process, I thought everything I've written, the course that we've developed, I've already started making the videos. I'm like, it all just fits perfectly, because our course is on, it's called Dream Reality Plan, are the 3 modules. So module 1 is the dream. And I said, you got to start there, just like I did with my company. You got to start with the dream and the blank piece of paper. And so, I'm taking people through that process of forget about anything preconceived, and just, what do you love to do? What brings you energy? And let's start putting that together as the work strategy. And so then we go through that process. And I'd say the first thing you have to do is get rid of resume mentality. And that's one of our big plans, is to kill the resume. I think that they're the biggest waste of time. It's a piece of paper created for someone else. You got to figure out your history and your job titles, and you put all this in bullet points and things that I've advised people on for 20 years of how to get a resume in front of somebody. And so I want to do away with that. We need to build a relationship and get to know the person and connect on core values. In today's world of technology and training, the skill part is not that important.
Absolutely.
It's more about the passion and the core values, the direction you want to go. You want to learn new skills. You always want to be advancing. So making that shift is huge. So anyway, so we start with the dream, and we create your dream. And then one of the things I talk about in the course is labels and assessments. So many counselors, career coaches, they want to start with some kind of assessment. And I don't know if you're familiar with Benjamin Hardy's book, Personality Isn't Permanent.
Right.
But yeah, that book really resonated with me, because he starts out talking about how an assessment almost kept him from getting married because he and his fiance didn't match on personality profiles, and her parents didn't want them to get married. So it's kind of funny. But I've watched over the years, and I was in the corporate world 10 years before I started staffing and recruiting, and we used all kinds of assessments and labeled people. And as a manager, it was helpful sometimes to understand, but to me, that's never where you should start in planning your job strategy, because you immediately are putting a label on yourself, and then you start living into the label instead of developing what you want to do. And then an assessment might help you with achieving a goal or where you need to build strengths. So we talk about that. Obviously, I get into purpose versus passion, and how to find your purpose and passion. And some, there's a lot of different things we get into about, sometimes you need to go find, you need to work first to find some of your purpose and your passion. I think all of us, if we've been in the workforce or in our careers for any amount of time, and we've changed careers, we've changed philosophies, but our core values don't necessarily change. And so that's why we focus on going through the process and really saying, okay, what brings you energy, what drains you, and where will you not compromise? Really bring in those core values, and then we can move to reality. So we do the dream, and then we say, okay, what's your reality? Some of the biggest things I've seen over the years is people take jobs for so many reasons that have nothing to do with the job. They take it for benefits. They take it for the retirement plan. They take it because of where it's located, the environment. There's all these factors that make them make a job decision. And, a couple of years in, they're not happy because they didn't focus on the actual job itself. And does that bring them fulfillment? Do they contribute? Do they fit the culture? I've been there myself where thought it was the dream job and then found out that culture fit was just not there and it became miserable. So we walk through the reality, okay, where are you today? And why have you gone on the path you've gone on? And then ultimately we put together a plan to put together a strategy to pursue work that fulfills them or that moves them towards that work, So that's what we're doing right now. And we've got the course just about ready to launch. And so I'm wanting to, start building our community through this course and do it online for now. I'm hoping to start holding events and doing some live workshops and make it, in 2 or 3 days versus over a 3-week time virtually. And then the other piece that where I'm really wanting to reach out to the different communities is to start connecting with these companies that say, yeah, we're so sick of the hiring process and getting inundated with 200 resumes. And it's probably going to be worse now as companies open back up. But, I watch recruiters and people in companies just get flooded with resumes, and, a very small percentage of them are even qualified. So the frustration just builds on both sides that there's so much waste in the process that we seldom connect the best people to the best opportunities because they just can't find each other.
Absolutely.
And so I want to connect with those companies. We kind of walk through a process with them as well to make sure they have core values defined towards their purpose, and that's truly part of the business strategy is here's our mission, here's our purpose, and here's how we manage around these core values. So again, on the company side, they don't compromise. We don't compromise. Here's what we truly live into. So it's not a plaque on the wall or a mission statement. It's truly defined core values that their business strategy. You can see it within the strategy. You could walk into a meeting or you could walk down the halls of that company any day of the week and see the core values are being lived out. So we go through a process to make sure that that's really part of what they're doing.
So what's the process for your workshop to ascertain the skills and abilities of the person that's seeking for a job? And, instead of a resume or a CV that the employee receives, the employer receives, what would they receive instead, and how would they understand if that person is fit for their, organization?
Right. So that's the process we're walking through first with our individuals. So as people go through the course, they define their core values, and then we develop questions around those. So that's where we kind of I don't want to use the word assessment, but that's kind of where we get into matching core values on both sides, the companies and the individual, is we build questions around those core values, and you would, by how you answer those questions, it will create that match, which eventually will feed technology for us. So we're starting out manually, so it'll be a little more tedious process as the companies define their core values and individuals define them, and then we will build these questions that start matching them.
Right.
To each other.
Would you also, will part of the workshop include an interview as well, so that the employer will receive, an understanding of their personality to see if there's any chemistry there?
The course won't include that, at least not initially, for starters, because we don't, we start building the talent community first and then connect the companies. So we're the connection point. And this is where I talk to companies. I say, we want to connect on the core values of the individual to the company, and the company, we define that with them. So if they have 6 core values, we develop the questions around them that an individual would answer to see that match is there. At that point, once that connection is made, it's up to the company to connect and start building that relationship. And that's where we see this as a continuous process. And it's kind of this loop, the talent loop. It's not hiring to open job openings. It's building relationships with people that match your core values. And you may hire them today, or you may hire them in 6 months, or it may be 2 years. It's just starting to develop and making that a continuous practice, to where the hiring process as it exists today is gone. You should never have a need that doesn't already have someone there to fill it, because once they connect, you start building these relationships. So there's a lot that goes into it. We a lot of our plans included having, and we'll have events, local events, and some throughout the United States. Right now is where we're building out, where we bring companies in our talent community together to meet and even do some lunch and learns and some education. And, there's a lot of things that we plan to do to help build those relationships and connect through the core values. A lot of our education with companies is we want them to stop thinking about filling jobs and start thinking about creating systems. So become systems driven, where it's, we liken it to a ball team. If you've got an infield and an outfield in baseball, and first, second, and third base, you always got a first string, a second string, a third string. Your second baseman could play another infield position fairly easily with just a few skill adjustments. Bringing someone from the outfield to the infield takes a little more. So we kind of create this process where you're always training the backups.
Right.
And that's also feeds into the individual's plan and strategy. Is I always wanted to be a second baseman, but I'm a pitcher. Okay, well, what's the strategy to get you there? Right. And so the training and the skill development and job shadowing, whatever is going to be a part of that, we start building that into their system. So eventually there's never really a job opening for any length of time, because we're always proactively building out that talent pipeline for them.
I think it's a very good idea, because I remember when I was, in my early 20s, and I would, go and work somewhere, and all they cared is they didn't care about my future. They just cared how I did my job. And then that was it. And being really good at my job and really tiring me out for the same money,
Right.
But there was no plan into, managerial scope or anything like that. And the thing is, when you're 18, 19, 20, when you say to a youngster, and there's many ambitious youngsters out there, and you say to them, look, there's a plan here, and by the time you're 25, this is where you could be, and this is the kind of money you could be on, and you could have a family, and because that's what we want ultimately. There's more drive there, but I was never driven working for anyone in the past because of that problem that you're addressing. and
Mm-hmm.
and hence why you're coming out with a new way of, of a new process or a new hiring strategy.
Yeah, and that's where, as I've interviewed so many people from entry level to senior level positions over the years, and I've seen a lot of really heartbreaking scenarios where people aren't happy at all. They dread getting out of bed every morning to go to work, but they have to. They have to have the paycheck. They have to have the benefits. They have to have the security, whatever you want to call it. They're miserable, but they don't know how to get out of that situation. Or I have the person that works somewhere for 10, 15, 20 years and just got laid off and were completely blindsided by it. And they didn't just lose a job. They lost self-confidence. They can't provide for their families. It's a very depressing time, and it's just such a huge impact on people's lives. But we don't put a lot of thought into it from a strategy standpoint. I got to get a job. Well, what does that mean? We got to have better benefits. I had an individual in construction one time that had a great opportunity with one of my clients. It was going to be like a $20,000 a year salary increase, but the company was a really small company and they didn't offer much in benefits. And he had a family, and he couldn't. The increase in salary would not offset what he was going to have to pay for insurance. So he couldn't take a job he really wanted because he had to stay stuck in a job because of the benefits. And so those are the kind of things that just frustrated me so much. And so I had been actually looking at, we have a resource center where we were partnering with companies to look at different ways of providing benefits and retirement plans and all of these things that fall outside of the work that keep people from doing work they love. Now, I think we're entering into a time where there's going to be benefits beyond anything I could have imagined. So that makes it exciting. But those are just a lot of the things I've seen. It's like, we've got to stop this. People spend a third of their lives working, and a lot of people work 5 days a week to live for 2 days. It's all about get to Friday so I can enjoy a couple of days away from this place to go back and do it all again on Monday. So those are just all the things that are wrong about the approach that we take. And if you're getting up Monday morning to go to a company that's doing something you're passionate about and you feel like you're serving, whether it's inside the company or the customers outside the company, it's a lot more exciting. And you're going to work with people that you respect and that you enjoy spending time with. So then it's, you're all coming together for a cause, and you're getting paid, a fair amount of pay for that. The other piece too is through this whole strategy, we want a lot of transparency between the companies and the individuals. So like you were saying, they can kind of tell you the direction that you can go, and here's where you could be in 3 to 5 years. But there also may be where you look at that path and you say, that's not really where I want to be in 3 to 5 years. So there's a transparency that once you reach a certain point, you're going to be looking somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And the other beauty of it, and I've seen this work with companies though, is if the company's aware of that, they may have connections where you want to go because there's a skill set or just something you want to learn that they can't offer, but they may be able to help you. So it becomes a very transparent process with that understanding of you're not going to leave them without notice. So that way they're able to fill that position or bring that second string in or whatever they do, So again, you really don't have to worry about jobs being open for a long time because the company's like, oh, well, we know that Nicholas, is kind of in about 2 months, you're going to be ready to transition to something else. So we're going to start getting a person there and we're going to help you with that transition.
Absolutely.
Um, so it's a lot of work to do, but as we've mapped it out and laid it out, I think it's kind of a 3 to 5 year process for us to build the software and the app. And ultimately, we see the vision is it's an immediate connection. You download the app as an individual, and you go in, and you'll have access to these companies. You won't know the companies; you'll just answer questions for the core values. So you're answering these questions. It creates that match, and then the company's immediately notified when you say, yes, I'm interested in that. And then that connection forms and they start building a relationship. So, and down the road, we've got like a version 2 where you can start building in skill sets or some other things to hone in on, so you're not getting 1,000 connections every day. But that's all part of that process as we build it out.
So where are you now in completing the app and everything and the whole process of it? Whereabouts are you?
Well, the app development, we're probably 6 months out now, because we've got to, the plan right now, step 1 is getting the course out, the Dream Job Strategy course, and to start building our talent community and helping people build that plan. So, because that's kind of it's a standalone product in itself. If we can just help people, it's kind of a very personalized, almost job strategy, job coaching type program where you lays out a plan for you. But through that process, we start developing the questions to start building out the app. We also will start targeting companies that have the type of work that our talent community is looking for. So as they determine strategies, and we'll say, well, we can start build. So we kind of start building it. It's kind of a chicken and egg, but we've got to build the talent community inside. Right alongside that, we start reaching out to companies,
right,
to start making that connection. So we need to build out some data. We need to build out some of these core values and questions, and then that's what will feed the app. Once we have enough data points, which we're talking like 100 people, and starting to build out the questions. The app itself, with my technology person that I'm working with, we're looking at, taking about 90 days to have something functioning. So the goal in 2021 is to definitely build out our community, start bringing in some client companies that want to really be beta testing with us, and have the app launched.
Well, I think it's a fantastic idea, especially in this crisis. And, many companies, will, take a liking into this, I'm sure, and will contact you and implement their their ideas with you and collaborate, if you like. And, if you send me your details with your links, I could leave that in the description below for anyone that's interested that can contact you and learn more or assist you, or they may have a company that they would like to collaborate with, or it could be someone that's seeking for a job. It could be anyone that's looking for help in this crisis. So I would love to help the listeners as well, if anyone is in need, and also yourself who's contributing to this dying system that we have and transitioning into a new one. And you're one of the people that are part of the jigsaw who are implementing a piece into the new system. And I really appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I'm excited about it, and just excited about all these opportunities that people don't even know exist, that we're going to be able to, as they go through that process, and they'll say, I work with a lot of engineers and scientists and high tech people, because that was my background originally, is biology and sciences. And I'm just blown away by the potential where we can start plugging them into opportunities they didn't even know existed. And I think for companies, I've got a very large network. And so I could bring talent to them that they're not going to know how to reach otherwise. So that's where I really hope to be that connection point.
I'm sure you will. And we've definitely been suppressed for decades, hundreds of years, if not, and there are many things out there and many different structures that we won't even think about that are possible. And I believe that this could definitely be a one big possible way for a new hiring process.
Mm-hmm.
So 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other exciting part that I didn't know about until I started hearing all these things is as someone develops their dream job strategy, I think it can be dual now. They can work with companies to help them achieve their mission, but then they're also going to have this chance to be part of these, new communities in contributing, in gardening or water treatment or, whatever, so they can kind of do some things as individually, do their own thing as well as contributing to companies. I think it's going to create a world we're going into where you're not working 40 hours a week on someone's time clock.
Absolutely.
There's going to be this flexibility. So anyway, it's exciting, and I hope to be a big part of connecting and helping bring people along, and maybe help wake them up as they see the exciting new world we're going into.
It makes a huge difference when you're doing something you love. Like you said earlier, where we go into work and we're passionate about what we're doing, whether it's the customers or serving the company. And it has a big impact on your health and your timeline and your vision going forward. Whereas when you're in a job that you really hate and you want to cry before you get there every morning, it can be a nightmare. And it just that makes a big impact.
Sure.
So I'm very, I can relate to that. I've had loads of jobs. I've tried a lot of things in the past. And I understand when you don't like a job or when you really love a job, So I think passion is where we have to go, because we're creators and we have to follow what's in our hearts, because that's what we're supposed to do. And that's why when we create, it feels very therapeutic for us,
Absolutely. And, and the other piece is when we find work we love, is making sure we're in an environment where we get to create and use that. And that's that other really key piece of connecting on the core values. Because I know, and I'm sure you've been there and your listeners have been there. I had a position that I literally told a friend after I was offered the job. I said, I just found my dream job. I mean, I was so excited about this opportunity and getting to use all these things I love to do and build a team. And about 2 months in, I'm like, wow, this company's culture does not fit mine at all. And I didn't see that in the interview process, because everyone puts on their best. We go in and dress up in a suit, and the company puts on their best too. And I didn't see a lot of the clutter, a lot of the things that they were hiding. And so you can't truly fulfill that passion until you have that culture fit, as well as getting to do work you love. And so that's why we want to make sure we get people in the right fit, or if we don't, you can quickly transition onto something else instead of feeling stuck.
I mean, I remember when I used to work for a company and I really disliked their culture, and it was so bad. I didn't even want to give them 1 month's notice. I just wanted to get out.
Right.
It was just, it just wasn't good for my energy field. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
I think your health and your state, your mental state, I think that, that's your peace around you. If you've got people interfering with that and it bothers you, then you can't find any peace. And that's really, really important to have peace.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the core values that we will be looking for with companies, is well-being of their employees has to be a core value.
Mm-hmm.
And it only, even from a strategy standpoint for a company, that makes the most sense, because you're going to get the best out of your people, and they're going to be the most creative if they're healthy and happy.
Absolutely.
And so that's definitely, when it comes to core values, that's going to be an important one that we're going to be looking for with companies.
Well, Karla, it's been fantastic speaking with you. Is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners?
Just, I'll share my information, and right now probably the best thing will be to email me if any of this resonates, if they, as an individual would love to learn about their dream job, or as a company that's just passionate about really, really building a team based on core values. I call it, you mentioned CV. I call that the new CV, core values, not curriculum vitae.
Core
And,
values, yeah.
yeah, so I'm just excited I can, to be a part of the world we're getting ready to go into, and hopefully help connect people into opportunities that they never even dreamed were possible. So.
No, absolutely. I think you're doing a fantastic job. And if you once again just send me those details over, your email address and your website, etc. I'll be very glad to put it in the description below so that the listeners can contact you for further information.
Okay. All right, Nicholas, I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you're doing, and just look forward to continue to learn more about your community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And God bless. Thank you.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.